Hi, my name is Dana, and today I will be demonstrating how to set up your Windows machine to begin developing for the Microsoft Hololens using Unity. The Hololens is a wearable augmented reality device with gesture and speech-controlled commands. In order to install the tools necessary to develop programs and apps for the HoloLens, your machine must be running Windows 10 Pro, Enterprise, or Education Edition. Unfortunately, the Home Edition doesn't support the Hyper-V setting, which is necessary to run the emulator used for testing and debugging when you don't have an actual HoloLens to work with. So let's get started. Go ahead and open your web browser of choice, and we're going to navigate to the developer site on Microsoft that lists all of the tools that we would need in order to start writing programs for the HoloLens. In this table, it has the links to the 3 different installers that we're going to use today. We're going to start with Visual Studio. And it should bring you to this Microsoft page. Scroll down until you see this blue button that says Visual Studio Community and click to download the installer. And then we're going to do the same for the HoloLens emulator and the Unity HoloLens technical preview. Unity is a program typically used for creating either 2D or 3D games across multiple platforms. In this case, this is a special version developed with Microsoft that contains the different packages we're going to need in order to export our programs and projects. This isn't found in the usual place on the Unity website, so that's why having this direct link is pretty important. So you'll scroll down until you see in the Getting Started section this second link that says HoloLens Technical Preview, and then Unity Download Assistant. Alright, now we have the 3 installers that we're going to need. Go ahead and open up your downloads folder or wherever you directed these to download to, and we're going to start with installing Visual Studio because it takes the longest and some of the components installed with Visual Studio are necessary to correctly install the emulator. We'll go ahead and hit run, and we'll wait for the installer to initialize and set itself up. It does take a couple minutes to actually get started before we can even install it, so just have patience. Okay, once it's all ready, you will see this menu here. You have 2 choices for installing Visual Studio. There's the typical and recommended Windows 10 developer package, and there's a custom option that allows you to pare down the program to kind of your basic needs. It is pretty big. It requires 13 gigs or 12 gigs depending on what already exists on your machine. So if you do choose custom, make sure that you have the Tools 1.4 and Windows 10 SDK version 10.0.10586 checked and installed, because those are the 2 main components that you need in order to run the emulator and to run Unity properly. Those 2 components are also listed next to the installer link, so it's a good point of reference. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose the typical download and hit install. Alright, now that Visual Studio is installed, we need to go into the control panel really quick to enable Hyper-V. So go ahead and open that up. And then we're going to go to Programs, turn Windows features on or off. And then make sure that the little tick box next to Hyper-V is selected and hit OK. Alright, let's go ahead and install the emulator now. Alright, you can either install it in the default place or in a place of your choosing, doesn't really matter. So hit next. And whether you want to participate or not, hit yes or no. So next, accept, and install. When the emulator is done installing, you should get this welcome message that means success. So we can close that out. And last but not least, we are going to install Unity. Alright, this is the window that should pop up. So go ahead and hit next, and you have to accept the terms of agreement before you hit next, and then go ahead and click the 64-bit option and make sure that each of these is ticked, and then hit next. Again, you can either do the default installation location or pick one of your choosing, and then hit next and let it install. Okay, Unity has finished downloading and installing, and I've launched the program. When you first open it up, it's going to ask you to sign in with a Unity account. So if you don't have one already, it will direct you to make one. Once you sign in, it'll bring you to this license page where you would select Unity Personal, which is the free version, and just answer the license agreement question. You don't use it in a professional capacity or whatever applies to you, and hit next. It'll load, and there you go. You can create a new project, which looks like this. So you have your scene, and this is where all of your different assets would be listed, and you are all set to start developing. There is one optional step that I would recommend, which is to download the Microsoft Hololens Toolkit. This toolkit provides a lot of prefabricated and pre-made assets that you can pretty much just drag and drop into your project. In order to download that, you would navigate to the Microsoft GitHub and their Holo Toolkit-Unity folder, and download the zip file of their entire toolkit. The actual assets that you would be looking for are under the assets folder, and then in this folder labeled Holo Toolkit. Again, this is completely optional. It can help simplify the process, but if you'd like to get more hands-on with the different settings and experiment with different things, it might not be appealing to you. But with that, you are all set to go. Thank you for watching.